It's a great day. It's a great day for books. It's a great day for these books. Hi, I'm Michael Everts, and you're watching Fit to be Read. Hey everybody, I wanted to do something a little bit off the cuff today, so I went to the bookshelf and I just grabbed the first 10 books I could think of that make me happy. So these are my top 10 book recommendations of science fiction books that make me happy today. So the first one I pulled off was The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. I've spoken about this book before on the channel. This is sort of a collection of short stories, but it's fixed up to be a novel. Ray Bradbury is an incredible writer. His prose is very beautiful. It's very poetic. I especially love in this story, one of the first stories, or actually the first few stories, deal with humans that have left Earth and they're going to Mars and they want to colonize Mars. And they're knocking on the doors and say, hey, we're here to make first contact. And the Martians could not be bothered. It's really humorous the way that that's done. And again, of course, this is a lot about humans going to Mars and trying to colonize Mars, and the Martians maybe not being that into us. And as you get further in, you'll see it's for pretty good reason. Another book that makes me happy is Samuel R. Delaney's Empire Star. Now, this one is part of a copy that has Babel 17, and this could be on the list too, but we're going to go with Empire Star and Comet Joe. So Empire Star follows Comet Joe. This is just a really fun read. This is time travel. Comet Joe lives on this world, Reese, and he witnesses sort of a spaceship crashing, and it turns out that he has to get this message to Empire Star. The problem is he doesn't know what Empire Star is. It's just a really fun space opera. He meets people along the way. He is from a simple-minded or simplex culture, and along the way he needs to become multiplex to understand and to deliver his message. And as I mentioned, there is time travel in here, and it's a really great read. Up next is Tiger, also known as The Star's My Destination. This is my Tiger copy. And there we go. And what's great about this is the unlikable character, the protagonist, the anti-protagonist, the anti-hero, not even a hero, just the villainous protagonist, Gully Foyle. Gully Foyle is left stranded on his broken down spaceship, and they passed him by. This ship, it's fucked, and nobody comes to save him. He somehow gets back to Earth, and when he does, he is hungry for vengeance. And there's a new idea on every single page of this book. It's masterfully written. It's fantastical in many ways. And we watch as Gully Foyle tries to get revenge on those who have wronged him, those who have passed him by. And interesting about this world, too, is organically people are telepaths. No, not telepaths. They jaunt, so they can teleport themselves around. Next up is City. I pulled this off and I actually had this one right next to it. I think I have 3 or 4 different versions of this book. Clifford Simak's writing makes me happy. There are all kinds of things you could say about the lack of prescience in some of these novels and some of the ideas, but it's just such a cozy, comfortable pace that when I pick up this book and I open it, it's a happy time. It's a fun reading experience. I'm happy sad when I read this next one. This is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Ender's Game is one of the great science fiction novels of all time. This is definitely something I recommend to people for them to read when they're young, or any age really, but like I love the idea of teenagers starting to read this book. It's happy sad in the sense that, you know, Ender in many ways is a really tragic character, but it's happy because I love this character and I love this story and I love spending time with it. I love seeing the scenes in the battle school. These kids are recruited because they're humanity's last hope against the buggers. And the buggers, they learn from every attack. So, you know, we don't have anything new to throw at them. So we have to find these genius children, and maybe them, the ones that have the great leadership skill, will lead us to victory. The writing of Nnedi Okorafor makes me happy. And this is the first book I pulled off of the shelf. It probably wouldn't be my number one Nnedi Okorafor book, but it is the one that I think of if I'm thinking about what is a book that I sit down with and I immediately smile and it makes me happy. Remote Control fits the bill for that. I love the writing in here. It's so descriptive of Ghana, and we follow this child, Sankofa, and she has this thing that had come from space, and she carries it around with her, and it gives her these strange abilities, and it really she gives her the power of life and death over other people. I'm not sure that should really make you happy, but I think what really makes me happy about it is the beautiful prose, and it is spending time with this character in this land that's very different from a land that I am from. The next book to bring a smile to my face is Dicronauts. This is by Greg Egan, and I absolutely love this book. I love a lot of books by Greg Egan, and I'm going to do another video really soon about authors that are auto-buys for me, and he's definitely one of them, and I have several of his works. And when I do my top 210 list, you're going to see a lot of Greg Egan on there. This is my favorite Greg Egan, and if it's not my favorite, it's the one that makes me happiest. So I'm not sure how I'm ranking things there in terms of what's the best or not, but this is the one that makes me happiest. I love when I sit down and I can crack this one open several times, and that's not often something you can do with Greg Egan because he writes really hard science fiction, and some of his worlds are hard to fully grasp. This one's no different, and it's hard to really get a handle on it. But the characters in this book are just perfect for me. They are walkers and siders. So each individual is actually two people in a way. You have the walkers who are sort of ambulatory and can move around, but they can only move, it's all two-dimensional, so they can only move forward or backwards. And they have siders that, are through their skull, and they kind of ping or echolocate to the side, so that gives you kind of your full range of motion of awareness. And they live in a city that's constantly moving because they live on this hyperboloid world, and because of this strange wobbly rotation of the sun, certain areas that are habitable, they don't stay habitable. So they have to move their cities, and it follows walkers and siders who are sort of surveyors and checking for the next area for them to go, and it just absolutely captivates me. It's not a book for everybody. A lot of people I've heard that I've recommended this to before have read it, and it just wasn't the right fit for them, and I completely get that, but it worked for me, and it made me happy. And of course I have another happy sad entry, and that is going to be The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Oh, there it is, right there. And this is a Folio Society edition. It was the first one I saw, so I pulled that off of the shelf. I love this book as well. Ursula Le Guin is one of my favorite authors, so I'm pulling books, a lot of them, Samuel Delany. We've got Neil Stephenson coming up, Nnedi Okorafor, Greg Egan, some of my absolute favorite authors, so no surprise that their books make me happy, and that's part of the reason they're my favorite authors. In Left Hand of Darkness, again, and Le Guin obviously fits on that list too. Left Hand of Darkness does fit in that happy, sad category. It makes me happy because it's comfortable, it's cozy, it's a great winter read. They're on this planet Gethin, which is basically an ice planet. So it's one of those things where you kind of feel cozy already because you want to wrap yourself up because the reading is so well written. You feel like you're on this cold planet, and there is this relationship, the real strength of this story. It has a lot of notoriety because of the time that it was written a long time ago. It had some gender barrier stuff which is not to be discounted, but the real strength of the story are the relationships, or the main relationship between two people from two different places, two different types of beings that wouldn't necessarily get along, but because they're on this journey together across this ice planet, they have to learn to get along. No more of that sad stuff. This is fun, happy. Neil Stephenson, Snow Crash, cyberpunk, classic, smart, witty, quirky, little bit corny, but in a fun way. This follows two main characters. We have hero protagonist, yes, that's his name, and yours truly, not me, but yours truly, YA. So YA and hero protagonist are your protagonists, and already I'm smiling because I'm thinking about these two characters. Hero protagonist, he delivers pizza for the mafia. He is the deliberator. He also works sometimes for the CIA. He is a hacker. He lives in this abandoned storage unit thing. He is a master swordsman, and he goes to the Black Sun, which is the hottest club in the metaverse. So there's VR in this. There is YA. She is the 15 or 16-year-old courier. And couriers, what they do is they ride on planks, which are like futuristic skateboards, and they get around by pooning. So pooning is they have like this thing. It's like a cable that has a magnetic end and it latches onto a vehicle, and they just kind of like water ski all around. I don't need to tell you any more about this world. Just from the characters, you should be able to tell this is a pretty wild, quirky story. It's set in a future United States, but corporations own everything, and the United States government is really very minimal at this point. And I'm going to recommend that to you when you're in the mood for something that's a little bit corny, quirky, and fun. Next up is I, Robot, and this is sort of the nostalgia happy pick. I'm happy when I read I, Robot. It's, in many ways, it's one of the most adult books you can read, but it's also a book that you could read this to your children. I could read this to my 8-year-old, and the stories are fun. But what Asimov does throughout all of his literature is the examination of humanity, and I love that. And I love how he, in a simple story, a story that's just so simple, like a robot nanny taking care of a kid, and that's been something that's been copied quite a bit. Maybe not that exact story, but robots serving as, or non-humans serving as a lens through which we examine humanity. Nobody does that better than Isaac Asimov. And these stories are great because they vary in complexity, but again, they're easily digestible. It's a book where it's a fix-up of short stories, and they're great short stories, and the fix-up sort of works because it's connected through a reporter who's telling the story, which is sort of, I guess, a cheap and easy way to put these short stories together into a book. But this whole robot series is great. The others read more like novels than this one does. But, you know, Isaac Asimov coined the term robotics, he coined the term positronic brain, and he invented the 3 laws of robotics, and we get to see how all of those work in these stories. This next one makes me happy for a few reasons. One is because it's the first review that I did on this channel where I actually used a musical intro that featured a parody song. So if you like parody music, or if you like Billy Joel, because I used his Children of Time, These Are the Times to Remember. So the song is Children of Time, I'll remember. All right, so I can't really sing, but check that out if you want. If you like the parody music, check out the review for this. And if you like this book, check out the review too. You can watch the first half of it. It's spoiler free if you want to know more about the story. And then you can watch the second half of it where I talk about sort of my likes and dislikes. So if you've read this book and you'd like to know a little bit more about it, or if you've read this book and you had some thoughts about it, or you wanted to see what I liked about it and you just want to kind of keep the book alive a little bit, check out my 5 likes and 5 dislikes on that. But check out the parody music too, because I think you'll like it. And then maybe you'll look at some of the other videos on my video page that all, since this one, have parody music as well, which a lot of it's popular music, so it might be fun for you. And then also this has the follow-up, Children of Ruin. Really great stories. Oh, I guess I should tell you what this is about, sort of. They've left a dying Earth, and the first person that left was Kern. She was the scientist who created this uplift virus, where she was going to, I can't really tell you what that is either, can I? Because that's going to spoil it a little bit. So there are these terraformed worlds where she's going to, and she has this uplift virus where she's bringing monkeys or apes, and she's going to give them this virus, and then over time they're going to develop, and they're going to evolve very quickly because of this virus. Well, it doesn't quite go as planned, and we then have later on another crew coming from the planet that has left long after her time, and they show up at this world, and let's just say the uplift virus did not work exactly the way it was supposed to, or on whoever it was supposed to work on, but it did work in a particular way that creates a very interesting story. While I'm at it, I'm going to put one more sort of bonus on here because it's the book that I'm reading at the moment, and I'm going to talk about it on, again, that other video where I talk about my auto-buy authors, one of which is Peter Watts. So I'm reading The Freeze Frame Revolution. This is another short one. Again, these short ones, they make me happy. And Peter Watts is also the author of Blind Sight, another one of my favorite novels. This one is really cool. The print, it's actually a really quick read because it's small, but also the print is pretty large. I don't know if you can see that. So these are folks that are in this sort of asteroid spaceship, and they are setting up these gates that have wormholes, and they've left the Earth, and this is taking place over like 60 million years, and there's also time travel in this. I'm reading this again because I'm doing a time travel week where I'm going to have 5 days of the week, every day, a different episode about time travel with a lot of book recommendations. So I'm getting caught up on this and also on... Well, a lot of others too, but then also Empire Star. And these are two that are definitely going to be featured on the episode I'm talking about, some of my favorite time travel books. Thank you for watching today. I'm Michael Leverts, and this is Fit to be Read.